Okay, so are we ready for another episode of Batman the Animated Series? You better be, because that's what's about to happen. Anyway, so this episode is going to be Fear of Victory, and this one is going to feature the Scarecrow once again. This is his second appearance on this show, and this will be the first time that we've seen Robin. Now, it might be hard for a lot of you to remember, but back in the old days, Robin was considered to be a character that was somewhat inseparable from Batman. In fact, to the extent that, like, when they were making the 1989 Batman movie, uh, the studio was insistent on having Robin be a character in the movie, even though none of the filmmakers really wanted to do that because they were trying to make a darker and more serious version of Batman than what we've been previously used to. And, Robin was associated with the old Batman television show with the holy this and that Batman and that kind of thing. And I love the old Batman television show, but it's not what they were going for with this live action movie. So eventually, I think they were successful in convincing the higher ups at the studio that maybe it wasn't the best idea to have Robin in this movie. We're already having to establish Batman as like this serious character and the Joker as an actual threat and all this. We've got a lot going on in this movie already. We kind of don't need to have like a whole circus acrobat thing to set up this origin. So then they were going to put Robin in Batman Returns, and even had him cast. Marlon Wayans was going to play Batman, or was going to play Robin, which it's kind of crazy to think about now. But he was an up and coming star at that time. He just started on In Living Color and was pretty popular on that show. But honestly, like I think like Marlon Wayans is like a foot taller than Michael Keaton, so maybe they might not have looked right together. If that makes any sense. So I'm gonna try to wind this back because like for some reason it did the skip intro thing, and I didn't want to do that. Could you? Why are you going back? I'm not ready to start this yet. It's not obeying my commands. Is the battery not in there right? Like what's going on? So yeah, and when it came down time to Batman the Animated Series, again they were trying to establish like a darker, more serious Batman, and they didn't want to have Robin in every episode. So they sent him off to college before the show even started, and that made it so like if they wanted to do an episode with Robin in it, they could. He'd just be home from college, I guess. Needed to do his laundry or something. We're just gonna call that close enough. So yeah, where was I? I got lost. Anyway, so and not long before this, and I think this probably had something to do with. I suspect it had something to do with why they wound up leaving Robin out of the 1989 movie. They had that Death in the Family storyline where Robin was actually killed off in the comics, and to add to this whole thing, the reason it was decided to kill off Robin was because they actually had like a telephone call-in thing, like a 900 number, and if you called one number, it would be to kill off Robin, and if you dial the other number, it would be to save him. Now, this was not Dick Grayson, the character that would have been used in the 1989 movie or that is used in the animated series. This was Jason Todd. Dick Grayson had gone on to become Nightwing, and Jason Todd was his replacement and not a very popular character. So, of course, they killed him off. But by the time Batman the Animated Series come out, they'd introduced a third Robin, Tim Drake, who is a much more popular character, and They had a brand new costume designed for Robin by the greatest of all Batman artists, Neil Adams. And he designed this new Robin suit. And it carried over into Batman, the animated series. Even though Dick Grayson is the Robin that we'll be seeing here, he's wearing Tim Drake's costume. So, but nobody really complained because everybody loved that Tim Drake costume. And how could you not? It's like my personal favorite Robin costume. Anyway, let's go ahead and start the episode. And we're going to start our episode. Why are you playing? It skipped the end. I didn't want to skip the intro. Fine, whatever. I've had enough problems with this thing already. So we're just gonna keep going and power through it. So the one time I've skipped the episode or the intro so far, which I didn't want to do, but whatever. Gotham Messenger Service. H. Wilson Memorial Dormitory. Surprisingly, I don't know who H. Wilson is. You usually expect to see like some kind of homage to a comic book character. And this is where we get into this sort of like weird timelessness of this series. Is they're watching a football game on television. It's a black and white television, but he's got a remote control. And the football game that he's watching, they've got like these old-timey leather football helmets.
Making the pros means I can help out my folks. Maybe even put my sister through college.
And of course, the QB in the game was Dick Grayson's roommate, and he seems like just such a nice, humble character. But we're already establishing this sort of motif with these athletes getting stricken by irrational fears. I like the design of Dick Grayson with the button-up shirt and the sweater vest. It's kind of just preppy enough. Oh, he looks familiar, don't he? Jonathan Crane disguised as Archie Goodwin, disguised as a telegram guy.
Dear Brian, best of luck against Tech. And remember that only a fool knows no fear. I'm betting on a fan. As I said, weird.
So Dick has handled that telegram too. But anybody who's seen the previous Scarecrow episode, I'm sure, immediately recognized Dr. Jonathan Crane.
Brian Rogers is having the worst day of his collegiate career. Come on, Brian, get it together.
Dick being the supportive friend.
Oh, all right. Let's try it work. Off tackle. On 3rd and 25, we need a pass. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure, pass.
Oh, poor Brian.
Okay, man? Yeah, no problem.
We've already seen how important it is to, he's depending on this, whole football thing because he wants to help support his family. Oh, what great animation on those monsters.
They were so big. They're getting scary.
I wonder who our mystery villain is.
It's gonna be all right, son. We're gonna take you to confirm for observation. It was unbelievable, Batman. The guy totally freaked right there on the field. Brian Rogers, The Rock. He was under a lot of pressure, though.
I thought Dwayne Johnson was The Rock. This was actually before Dwayne Johnson was The Rock. I don't even know if he'd started in WWF at the time, as it was. And if he did, he was still Rocky Maivia. But yeah, I think it was a few. I don't even think Steve Austin was. Yeah, because this was like '92. This was like before the Attitude Era. I think at that time, like, would have been Bret the Hitman Hart would have been like their biggest guy. Undertaker was even like just in his earliest years at that time. And see, now he's starting to freak out because, again, he was exposed to that telegram. Uh-oh, crowbars. Robin's only weakness.
Robin,
Uh-oh.
you don't stop. That's
Well,
what you don't know.
because he's Batman. Some really good animation there.
Robin, give me a hand. I can't. Hey, Batman, catch this.
Oh, jeez. It's a lot like the bad guy from Gargoyles. Robin's neck was miscolored there. Those kind of mistakes became so much more rare once digital animation came into it. They started doing all their cells in digital, and it would be a lot easier to fix them after the fact. But a lot of times with this stuff, they get the animation back, and they get a little Ben Affleck smirk.
What's the matter? Bat got your song?
But yeah, back then they get some footage back, and it'd have some kind of error, like the reversed emblem that you see on Batman from time to time, and they had to just let it ride because they couldn't wait to send the animation all the way back overseas and have it reanimated and sent all the way back.
All right. Pull yourself together. Oh, what happened to me? I was scared to death. I couldn't even think. It was so unreal.
The colors of the suits work so well together that the dark blue and gray on Batman and the bright red and green on Robin.
I can't believe it. I could have gotten you killed. Calm down. We'll get over it.
It's nice to see Batman actually being supportive of Robin in this issue and not being like, all Frank Miller about it.
The screwy telegram? Sure. Hey, what's this? Our lead.
He must not have noticed the powder because, it just absorbed into his skin.
Take it easy now.
But it doesn't absorb into the gloves.
I suspect the chemical is absorbed in the skin.
Selena would not be happy with you right now.
Nothing's happening yet. Just as I thought.
So I guess you could say he's a fraidy cat.
The fear chemical
Yeah.
by adrenaline. So whenever you or Brian or any of the other outfits got agitated, the scout kicks in, turning our excitement to fear. But how long is this going to last? I'm afraid there's only one person who can answer that. The professor of fear himself, the scarecrow.
The scarecrow. I love the way he says that.
Isn't he?
The thing that I think makes Kevin Conroy's Batman voice work, whereas a lot of other Batman voices don't work as well as Kevin Conroy, is the fact that his is a little more whispery than gravelly. So when you have Christian Bale, and he's all like this. It just sounds a little, maybe like it goes a little too far. Whereas Kevin Conroy does that whispery thing. It just works. It's like butter, just smooth. Oh, you're not suspicious at all. He was there the whole time.
You're not supposed to be here. But the Scarecrow is. What do you mean? He's in the cell. I'd like to make sure. Take my word. I just saw it 5 minutes ago. That you won't mind if I think. No! No, you can't do it. It's half the move. You can't.
What are you going to do about it?
Stay with him, Rob. Fine with me.
Nah.
The title is familiar, but I'm blanking on the face.
Get like a nice look at some of our previous villains that we've seen. Arkham's most recent resident.
No, don't go in. Don't do it. No! Don't! Wait. Professor Crane.
That is a big hat. A literal scarecrow. And of course, the Joker thinks that's hilarious.
It's a pleasure doing business. You've been winning a lot here, Mr. You may call me lucky. Lucky, but you must be, because I ain't seen you lose, not even once in the last week. Yes, well, I make my own luck.
Ta!
That Lucky knows something, and I want to know it too.
You don't see smoking very often in kids' cartoons these days. But they still had it on this show. When we see the Penguin, he'll even have his famous cigarette. Probably the last time we'll ever see the Penguin's cigarette in animation. Hell, they were even reluctant to have the Penguin smoking a cigarette in the live-action Batman Returns. And they had him making pussy jokes. It's nice to have the little subplot with the thug trying to track down the Scarecrow, getting a little bit more than he bargained for.
You haven't been bewildered long, but you're sort of this guy. I'm fast. I'm looking for you. I want to know how come you always win, Mr. Lucky. It's quite simple, actually. I fix the games. You can't fix all those sports. Nobody can. Oh, dear little brain, allow me to illustrate. Here, you can read, can't you?
He's already dosed him with the stuff. It doesn't even matter that he's wearing gloves.
Hey, is this some kind of joke? It's no joke, I assure you. It's the fear, the victory, and the agony of
The Scarecrow.
So now you understand step 1 in how I fix an athletic contest.
So yeah, I don't like this design as well as I like the previous one. I think the previous one actually worked a little better. You can tell they were trying to make him look scarier, but it didn't really work for me. Honestly, as much crap as people give the designs they came up with for the new Batman adventures, I do think that that was the best version of the Scarecrow. There's not a whole lot of designs on new Batman adventures that I would say are the best designs for the characters, but Scarecrow would definitely be one of them.
He's been taking it on the chin lately. You're telling me that walking pile of straw scares the stuffing out of sports stars and then bets against their team? Exactly. A perfect way to scare up some quick cash for 6 years.
That's the kind of line that, like, I think under lesser hands could have come across as, like, kind of campy or Adam West-like, but Kevin Conroy just nails it. You know, with Kevin Conroy, they got a guy who was, like, a real actor. Like, this is a dude who, like, worked on the stage. Like they weren't trying to get just somebody who was, like, you know, a guy who did voices for cartoons. And I don't mean any disrespect to any voice actors who might have potentially played the role, but I think that it might be the sort of thing where if they'd have cast more your typical sort of voice actor, it might have come across as just your typical sort of cartoon superhero. And that's not what they were going for here. They needed a voice that had, like, a certain kind of gravitas. And they tried out so many people to play Batman before they started trying to think outside the box and hit on Kevin Conroy. And I think that it's not just that Kevin Conroy is the best voice of Batman. And a lot of people will say that Kevin Conroy is the best voice for Batman. But to get more specific about it, Kevin Conroy was the best voice for this Batman. And, you know, like I say, this is maybe the best version of Batman.
Telegram, Mitch, no. No! What? What's wrong?
Oh, but this is an actual Telegram guy. I love that little. He doesn't even say anything. Just this annoyed grunt. Batman should do that kind of stuff more often. And there go more of our old-timey football players. Oh, gee, a uniform rack. I wonder how that's going to come into play. So is Lucky wearing the glasses and must? No, he's wearing he's wearing it. He's wearing. Lucky is wearing a mask over his Scarecrow mask. So he's already basically got a burlap sack over his head. And then he wears a mask on top of that. Cartoons, folks. That is kind of a trope of the Batman comics, though, is like oftentimes you'll see Batman in some kind of disguise. Like, say, Batman disguises himself as Superman, and he'll wear like this kind of rubber Mission Impossible type Superman mask over his Batman cowl. I guess you're just not supposed to think about it that much.
Gambling is illegal. I need the money back. You know the cost of chemicals these days. It will take much more than this to bring every pathetic person in Gotham to their knees, kissing my feet. No closer, Batman. Unless you want to stampede them.
Honestly, though, the Scarecrow, and I think this comes across in this episode, the Scarecrow is a guy who I don't think cares that much about money. The Scarecrow, his main thing is he just wants to cause as much fear among people as he possibly can.
What guarantee do I have you won't fall? You have my word, Scarecrow. Just don't drop the plan. Actually, Batman, I prefer a little insurance that should be otherwise occupied.
Yeah. So we got fighting over the vial. He's lucky the vial didn't break when it hit that second catwalk, because even then you would think that would be enough to enough of that powder could have gotten down to the audience from there. Nice little dual level there. And Robin has to overcome his fear and saves everybody in the auditorium. Good job, Robin. Well, Jinx, you owe me a soda.
Looks like you better handle the problem. Yeah, I'm getting there.
The Goblin Knights wasted no time signing Ryan Rogers, making our local champ their first round draft.
Looks like your friend is back on track again. Yeah, I can't wait to
Batman's Bruce is wearing like the usual colors here, but he's got a turtleneck instead of the shirt and tie he usually has. So that was Fear of Victory. Pretty good, return episode for the Scarecrow. A nice debut for Robin. Of course, I don't think this was the first produced episode with Robin. I believe that was actually Christmas with the Joker. But this was the first one to air, so this would have been our introduction to the character as he appeared on Batman, the animated series. So Kevin Conroy was Batman, Bob Hastings was Commissioner Gordon, Mark Hamill as the Joker. It's nice he gets a little billing there, even though it was a very brief appearance. Lauren Lester as Robin, so get used to hearing his voice. Brian Mitchell as Brian, that's some creative casting. Chuck Moshantz as Bozeman, Henry Pollock as the Scarecrow, and additional voices were Tim Curry, Laurie Johnson, and Tom Williams. So I suspect this one might have been produced early enough that it could have also been one that Tim Curry might have done the voice of the Joker on, so they might have just had him in for additional voices to begin with. But of course, they would have redubbed him with Mark Hamill once he took over the role. Anyway, so that's pretty much it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode, what you think about any of the characters we've seen in this episode. So our next episode will be... I've got Batman in my basement. So that's the first episode that we'll see the Penguin, and it's also the episode that Bruce Timm said was the worst episode of Batman the Animated Series. But was it really the worst episode of Batman the Animated Series? Well, we're going to find out, because we're going to watch all of them. So make sure you tune in next time, whatever Bat time it is, on this Bat channel. We'll talk to you later. Bye.